Hey, what's going on, y'all? This your boy D Tuck sitting here in the basement studio. Just wanted to kind of share a quick story with you. A lot of people don't really know how I got my start in real estate. Um, it takes me way back. It's a pretty interesting story, so buckle up and let's go. The year was 1996. I had just actually prior to graduating from undergrad that spring, we were in the process of moving out of a rental house. So I was renting a house off campus with three other classmates. And so the four of us rented this house and we're packing up, ready to go. We're making our final payment for rent. And it dawned on me. I said, oh my goodness, we've been paying this landlord um, at the time, $900 a month was a lot of money. We were paying her $900 a month to rent this house. And now it's like we're getting put out. It's not like we were late or didn't make payments, but we were, our lease was ending. It was a reminder that there was no ownership. There was nothing to show for spending the rent money all those months or those 12 months. And so I vowed that day, I said, you know what? I had a new job. I had a undergrad degree in mathematics and computer science, and I had a job offer. I was going to be starting with Lockheed Martin, and I was excited about finding a new apartment and living that young adult independent life. But I made a conscious decision. I said, you know what? No, I'm not doing that. I'll commute from my parents' house, and they allowed me to do that. But I'll commute from my parents' house for a period of time, and I will go hog nasty wild with stacking money so that I could buy a house. And that's exactly what I did. I started saving a very high percentage of my bring home paycheck from Lockheed Martin. And later that same year in 1996, I was able to write a contract on a home that was a new construction build. Now it gets really crazy when I tell this part of the story, because in 1996, new construction was high risk for the builder because the interest rates weren't that great. It was not a seller market. And so what was happening was they were having a hard time selling these properties. So this builder actually did a new home auction. Now you probably never even heard of that, right? So they had 32 lots in this community, and they had only sold about 9 houses. And they decided they would do a new home auction. And my dad and I went to this auction. And it's pretty cool because the way they had it set up, they had 4 models that you could choose from. And then they had a plot with all the different lots. That's pretty cool, right? And so if you win the bid, what they would do is they would give you a laminated card with the model home that you choose. So whether, a lot of times they have them begin, Ashley, Bentley, Charlie, and Delta, whatever, right? So they, it's kind of A, B, C, D. And so what they would do is that when you're bidding, and then if you win the bid, you get to pick the model that you want, and then you go to the map, and they had Velcro, and you put that home on the map. And so for that price that you bid, you actually can get that model home built on that particular lot, which was pretty cool. And at the time, these houses were selling for about $194,000 in 1996. So we go to this auction, my dad and I, and the first home that was auctioned was at the same price that they couldn't sell the day before. And I was like, how dumb is that? I don't know who the person was that bought the house. I didn't catch up with him. I never got to know him in the neighborhood either. But why would you buy a house for the full asking price at an auction that you could have just walked in and bought the day before for the same price? Didn't make sense. But here's what was starting to happen. I didn't know this. I experienced it. So a lot of times things that don't hurt you, great to learn them through personal experience. Um, but you don't always have to learn through personal experience. There are many lessons we can learn from others, right? I don't have to smoke crack to know it's bad for me. Anyway, but what was happening is, so the second bid came and it was just below the first bid. And then the third winning bid was just below the second winning bid. And of course, I'm looking at my father. We're both thinking the same thing, like, oh, this is going to get good. If we can just get in the auction before the builder decides it's too low, we're cutting the auction off. Because that's always a possibility too, because it was not an absolute auction. And so what's really cool is that people started getting up and leaving. Now, I understand that not everybody has a logical brain, or, definitely not having someone to bounce ideas off, i.e. mentorship. Thank you, Dad, for being there. Um, I believe that mentorship is God's shortcut to greatness, by the way. And I don't know, maybe I would have got up and left if my dad and I hadn't been on the same page, understanding that these price points were going to continue to come down. We watched at least half of the room exit because the prices were still high, right? They were just coming down slightly. Well, fast forward an hour and a half later, about 12 or 13 houses later, I can't quite remember. It's not really important. We're now down into the 160s, and the bids are going really slow. And when this next auction started, they couldn't get an opening bid. So what does the auctioneer do when that happens? They started lowering the entry bid amount. First time that's happened. I got real excited because the auctioneer couldn't get the 165. He said, well, what about 155? And no one said anything. I got real excited. And then he came in. It's emotional for me. So he came in at 145. And the woman raised her pad to get to for the bid, and no one tried to outbid her for the 14th position. And they struck the gavel, awarded her a property for 145. And without hesitation, I don't know, again, having conversation with the mentor is so important. Without hesitation, I hopped out of my seat, because here's what they do. When they win the bid, they walk up, they get their laminated house card, and they Velcro it to the wall. And when she won her bid, I went up slightly, just behind her to whisper to the auctioneer. And I asked them, I said, if the prices keep going down, can I get one for the same price she just got one for? So closed mouths don't get fed, right? We know that. And the trend was clear. Every home was cheaper than the prior home. So he said, let me check. I was a little surprised. And sure enough, he awarded me a home without going through the auction process at the exact same price that they had just awarded the woman that bought her house before me. Now, the rest of the auction was a blur because I didn't care. I picked my model. I picked the lot. Kind of cool was the last house on the left. I used to always say that in my neighborhood, and that's how I gave instructions to tell my friends and family members to come visit once they get on my street. Last house on the left. I enjoyed not having a neighbor on one side. It's pretty cool. But here's what then happened. Because I remember those homes were selling for about 195-ish, and I got mine for 145-ish. I started getting letters in the mail talking about, oh, you should refinance your home. You have this much equity. And it started a paradigm shift in what real estate's really all about. I started noticing now everything real estate. I started noticing late night infomercials. I'm actually going to date myself. This is when Carlton Sheets was a big deal. at 2, 3 in the morning. And of course, I sent away and I got those and I listened to all those CDs and stuffed that information into my brain. Um, but it got really good because now it's not 1996 anymore. It's 1997 and now it's 1998, and prices are starting to creep up. If you know anything about real estate on the East Coast, in about 1998, we just started seeing a little creep up in pricing. Um, but I bought my house at a good price and I had equity set aside. Now, to do what I wanted to do, I needed a little bit more. I didn't want to pull all the equity out. So I did something that most people probably wouldn't do. And I don't necessarily recommend it, but hey, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to do some things that other people are not willing to do. And so in 1998, I bought my first investment property. Pretty cool. Um, that property, we had to do some work to it and things like that. No big deal. But now I'm stuck. I spent some money, made some money. What do you do next? This is the part that I said most people wouldn't do. Um, I took on a second full-time job. I told you before that decisions, we are exactly where we are based on the decisions we make, and winning is a decision. So I made the tough decision to work a second full-time job back in the late 90s to create the seed money to start moving what I considered an enterprise, my own family business, my own business that I can control the dollars. I decided. I was working my day job, I was working my night job, and then I started flipping homes. And it was a whirlwind. It's pretty cool. I haven't told many people that story. Um, was I lucky? I don't know. You call luck, I guess what, where the residue of timing and preparation. Some people say all those things. Well, I was born in 1973. I was the right age in 1996 to get ticked off or not be satisfied with renting anymore, and decided I would actually save some money. Maybe I was lucky. Maybe I was lucky that I was able to live with my parents and work my job and save enough money to get that first property. But I don't know. Maybe I was lucky my dad was there. Maybe I was lucky that we thought the same way about real estate. We thought the same way about um, creating equity in the property. I don't know. Maybe I was just lucky. Maybe it was luck that pushed me out of the seat to go and ask the auctioneer, can I have a house at that price too? Um, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was luck. Nah, I don't think so. I think that we are exactly where we are based on the decisions we make. Um, so every morning when you guys are working hard, and you're getting up at dark 30 or 5:30 or 6:30 in the morning, just know that there's some joker somewhere that got up earlier than you, or there's another joker somewhere that's still in bed. Where you fall in that spectrum is totally up to you. I ask you, what are you capable of? That's like the theme of the year, so to speak, for me is like, dude, you're capable of so much more. It's just a decision. So that's it. I just wanted to tell that quick story about how I started in real estate. Maybe we'll dig into some more of the details, fun facts and things like that at a later date. But we're just getting started, man. This is our year. Go win.